I'd like to call the meeting to order. Like to have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Like Miss Tatiana Ochoa to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can everyone please stand? Put their right hand over their heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'd like to start by giving a synopsis of what got us to this point from my perspective. On Sunday, the fires had happened and there was discussion about how bad the smoke was. And so we had to make a decision on whether to leave the schools open or to open the schools. So I went throughout the district and went out towards the east end, like 6th and Victoria Street, stood outside, got a feel for the air quality, and then I called the superintendent, and we had a discussion, and I was leaning towards opening the schools and making sure that everybody stayed inside. And then I talked to some fellow board members who asked for a special meeting, because as a board, we can't talk to more than 2 other board members legally, unless it's at a meeting. So I did a quorum, I did a call for consensus. 1, to see if board members wanted a special meeting, and then 2, legally, in order for us to have an emergency meeting, we had to have 4 members present. And when I made the phone call, Dr. Wyatt was going to Needles for his job. He had left already. Miss Medina was in Sacramento. Ms. Ceballos was out of town. And Miss Alexander was out of town. So we could not convene for an emergency meeting. So that meant that the decision was left to me. So after discussion with the superintendent, I gave direction to have schools open on Monday. And we decided to make sure people were going to be indoors, and that's how we got to Monday. I met the superintendent at Toronto at like 5 in the morning, and we went into Toronto. Toronto has these atriums in their school where they have open air come in. So it was there was smell in the hallways, but there wasn't smell in the classrooms. The smell wasn't as bad, but then I drove to some other areas. So that's the reason why school was open on Monday. And then it was projected that the air was going to get better. So I directed the superintendent to allow school to happen today. And that's when I made the video last night, because a lot of people don't understand. It's the board that gives direction to the superintendent. Superintendent gives the board information, but in the end, we have to agree on the final call. So for all the folks that wrote the letters about how much they hate Mr. Ariano, just make it clear, he didn't make the final decision. It was me as the board president who made the final decision. That's the way it works. And then we got calls today from, I got a call from Ms. Ceballos asking about having an emergency meeting. We went again to get consensus on 2 things. Did we want to have the meeting? And then secondly, did we have a quorum that we had to have 4 members that were available to be here? And we had that. So the decision for me was always easy, because to me it was just clear. I understand that a lot of people have medical ailments. So when I thought about employees being able to use their leave time, and I had a discussion with the superintendent and Terry about, if we use their leave time, can their leave time be restored? And the answer was yes. And we had did it in the past, so that was easy to understand. And then for students parents who have students who are ill and don't want their kids to go to school, then we said it would be an excused absence. I realized that the computer system was automatically sending out notices to people saying, your child did not show up, it's an unexcused absence. That was a mistake. They're supposed to have gotten that corrected. And it gets back to, because our schools are so well equipped with air conditioning, that I think for a lot of our students, they're better off at our school sites. That was my train of thought the whole time. It was so, and I also know about all the value that comes with students being at school. So, and I know I got a call from someone in the county of San Bernardino HR that asked me on Monday, are you guys going to shut down? Because I have employees that if you shut down, they have to take off, and they're trying to work that out. So I know the impact that we have when we do shut down. And I know that there are a lot of people in job sectors that when they don't go to work, they don't get paid. And when they have to stay home to take care of their child, they don't have leave time. They just lose money. That's the reality of it. But I do also understand that because of the surrounding districts shutting down, for instance, Rialto, I played golf today with a Rialto golf teacher, and he's a math teacher, but that put pressure on us because other people are saying, why don't we shut down? But my thought process and what my reasoning still makes sense to me because the air got better today. I mean, I drove in today, the air looks good today. But I already know we're gonna move to shut down schools because of the overwhelming feeling amongst employees and some students that that's the direction we want to take. But I do want to say we had 40,000 students in school yesterday. How many students we have in school today?
39.
Right now, Mr. Tillman, the system is reporting 39,812. That number might scale down just a bit for reconciliation.
For today?
For today, 39,812 for today, but that number may reduce as the system reconciles itself.
So we had a substantial number of students that attended school today. And so I never lose sight of how large that is when we shut down schools. That's a big deal. And even today, I'm just keeping it real with you guys. You know, right now when I drive up, the air don't look that bad. And I still think students would be better off. I'm just telling you, I'm just being real. And I still think students would be better off in our classrooms. And for those who don't want to come, they don't have to. And I can't thank the teachers and the classified employees enough for being there for us. And I know there are sentiment from a large group that that's not the direction they want to go anymore. But I understand that. My only purpose tonight was to be as transparent as possible. If anybody knows anything about me, all I want you to know is I'm honest and I'm not taking action because I hate somebody or I don't understand something or I don't get it. That is my perspective. And a lot of times it's too black and white. And the one thing I don't have a good sense of is the touchy-feely emotional part of it. And I'm quite aware of that. But with that, I have a light on. Ms. Grande? Go ahead.
Mr. President, I have a motion and I would like to speak to it.
Why don't you make your motion?
My motion is, I move we close our district school sites for the rest of the week.
Ms. Grande made a motion. Is there a second?
I was hoping to have a discussion before we made a motion, but I second that.
Remember, if you don't want to vote for it, you can make a motion later. You can vote no on it if you want to. But there's been a motion by Ms. Grande. It's been seconded by Ms. Ceballos.
Thank you. I supported our decision last week because of all the data we had at the time. Information from our experts from county and our own emergency team, our own district leaders who for 2 days and nights walked through and observed our schools in person. And I agreed to keep our schools open. I was confident that what we learned from the pandemic was the last thing parents wanted were school closures. But our union statewide protected and advocated for closures. In that case, we had time to find solutions. Mother Nature has not been kind in this case. Even as this firestorm calms down, our famous winds are on the way, and fires and smoke could start back up by Friday. Little to no learning can be done right now in school. Our students are surrounded by staff at school and people at home who are fearful and with cause. We can surely recoup those days with a shorter holiday break, perhaps, and we can gain back the learning. I'm certain of it. But right now, we need to come back together as one family and to demonstrate in a very big way that of course we care about every single one of you, our teachers, our classifieds, our specialists, our parents, but especially our students. I ask my fellow board members, let's put out this fire quickly, without fanfare and deliberation. Let's have less talk and more action, and I am touchy-feely. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. It's been moved and second. Ms. Medina, you have a comment?
We're up for discussion right now, so I would support it. I'm really somewhat kind of disappointed at the same time, because you have to remember our school district is unique compared to other school districts. As you mentioned, we have students whose parents, if they're working, they're off to work and they have no other option. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to bring in money and food for their children. So we see this day now. We have students that live in motels. We have students that are homeless. We have students in environments which unfortunately their parents don't care. And and I get it. Someone told me, well, we're not babysitters. I get that. You're not babysitters. But it's like this balance between what happens to those children that are in dangerous situations. We hear reports. You can see the news. There's reports of kids. Even San Bernardino is known for human trafficking. So what happens with the kids? Our parents are not there. Parents that don't care. The kids, maybe several siblings at once, 3 to 4 kids. They're trying to take care of themselves at the apartments that are not safe. So for me, when I heard, it's going to be an option. It's teachers staff teachers can come or they can leave. It's perfect. And then I was concerned when I heard about the sick leave, because then some of our teachers weren't able to get it because they already had used it, or some were waiting to use it. But this was a choice. This was something that we were going to fight to make sure you got that back. It wasn't even a question. Of course, you're going to get your time back. That wasn't even a question, I think, for the rest of the board. But the point was, if you don't feel like, if you want to watch Netflix at home, actually, I'm okay with you just call in saying that, you know what, you're not feeling well, go, and take your day off. I was okay with that with students, parents. When I would see messages on social media of parents saying their children are sick, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, don't bring your kids to school. Even if you don't want even if you can't, you're gonna go to Disneyland, let's just say, don't bring your kids, it's fine. We're in a situation that we kept the schools open for the children that actually needed a space to come. That was my intention. You know what, for those who call in sick, or for those who take the time leave, for those that don't want their kids to come to school, I'm 100% or 120% agree with that. Don't bring your kids to school. Just let us know. We want to make sure kids don't go missing either. So if you can call in, that's all we ask. But it's really disappointing, the privilege that, you see other school districts, they can do it. They can, yes, I get it, they can. And, they can actually do a whole week. Can you imagine children in these situations for a whole week? Walking in, you go right here. Sex workers. There's drugs within certain streets, even with neighborhoods. So I'm more worried about the kids that didn't have that option, that their safe space was our school sites, that was their safe space. And so, like I mentioned earlier, this does not, for those that didn't want to bring their kids to school, that does not pertain to them. I was just hoping that we had a way to keep it choice. It was an option. It was something that we did both. We protected our kids that were vulnerable, and yet we had time to go golfing. You know, so yeah, that's my point, and I'm really disappointed.
Dr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina and Ms. Grande, for your comments. You know, I have a son that's extremely asthmatic as well. I've heard that from a lot of parents out there, and of course, I am very concerned about that. And he's actually at home, and I'm like, "Are you doing okay? How's your breathing? How's the house?" Because he doesn't go outside much. My son's quite the introvert and likes being inside. And he says, "You know, it's not that bad, Dad. It actually is pretty good." And I said, "Okay, good." I don't like making emotional decisions up here because I think it's very important that we look at the facts, we look at the data, that we weigh out everything. I would have liked to have had this meeting sooner, and thank you, President Tillman, for trying to do so. He did try to do so, and as you can see, 2 folks are out of town. I was out of town as well, and we had to have at least a quorum to be able to be here. So we're holding this meeting now. You know, I'm not against the motion and the second to close school, but what I really want us to do instead is have a really good discourse, have a really thorough discussion, listen to our public comments that are for closing and against closing, listen to our students, I see a bunch of them here, which I'm really happy to see our students, because I think, you know, your opinion is extremely important, and that's why we have 9 school board members on this board, you know, because we value what you say and what you believe and what you want. So, and if that's something, I've had students email me, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to email everybody back, because I think I probably had a couple hundred emails, which is nice to be able to read all of those. But, you know, my biggest concern was air quality, number one. You know, is the air quality bad enough to impact our kids, our students, and even our entire community in an adverse way? You know, that's my first concern. Second, you know, what is considered unhealthy to us? You know, I don't know. I'm not an expert, obviously, in respiratory, right? But I know people are out there. What is considered unhealthy and what is considered unhealthy? You know, what data are we using to make our decisions? And also, you know, are there other options that we can have? And I think we should discuss options, not just closing, but are there other options? And, you know, for me, it wasn't a difficult decision at first when these fires started. For those of you know, I live on Edge Hill. I'm telling you exactly where I live, and we just had a fire there about 3-4 weeks ago. It was devastating. I've never seen anything like that in my life, to where my neighbors' homes were burnt to the ground. And I get a little emotional just thinking about it right now, because, you know, I'm worried about folks that are in the mountains, worried about folks that live up there right now, about what might happen to their homes. You know, because this fires, now plural, is far from over. Far from over. If we think this is just going to end because we close school between now and Friday, we're wrong. We're absolutely wrong. We are surrounded by 3 fires right now. We're literally right in the middle of it. And you don't take a genius to drive here and look and see to the east of us, to the west of us, to the south of us, that we have 3 major fires going on. Whichever way the wind blows depends on how much particulate matter we're going to get in this area. I'm like with Mr. President Tillman. I drove in here and I said, dang, the weather right here and the breathing's nice. But I know if that wind shifts, it could be terrible. You know, so that makes decisions for us very difficult. I actually walked in with our safety administrator, Mr. Batir, who was holding a device that shows about particulates in the air, and was reading green and healthy. And I was like, okay, great. I don't know about AQI. That was another term that was brought up to me about air quality index. You know, I'd love to hear a little bit about that today as we make our decision. But that's where I stand right now. I am in complete support of closing schools if we feel that's the most important, safest thing we can do for our students and our staff. I am very, very concerned, as my colleague has spoke about, Ms. Rosales Medina, about the students that want to come to school, about the families that want their kids to be in school, because it is a safe place for them. We work hard up here, our staff work hard to create a safe learning environment for our students. I know there's also kids that want to compete in sports. That, you know, if we close school, I don't know if that's going to impact our ability to play in sports. Is that the most important thing? No, it's not. Okay, but it is important. Our health is important. I know we've even rescheduled games away from here to hopefully areas that have better health conditions so our kids can play. But back to our kids that want to come to school, you know, the number of students that attend school yesterday and today to me was extremely important. You know, we know that it's approximately around 40,000, 39,812 kids. When you do the math, that's about 93, 92% of our kids have come to school. And we've made it clear, if your kids don't want to come to school, or you don't want your kids to come to school, then don't. I say the same thing for our staff. This happened to us when we had the floods. When we had the floods last time and everybody criticized us, almost every district around us closed. And we made the right call. We stayed in school. The weather came out fine. Our kids went to school. We didn't have any major incidents with anybody in regards to safety. I'll say this, the fire is much different. Much different. It's unpredictable. I've seen its unpredictability even in my own home, and I know it could shift. So this has been a very difficult decision for me in regards to wanting to close our schools. Like I said, I want to make the most important decision for all of our kids, all of our staff. And that is not an easy thing to do, because what might be good for some staff, some students, won't be good for other kids. But what I do know is 92 to 93% of our kids came to school, knowing that there was bad conditions here. And whether they wanted to or they were told to and made to go, I don't know. But I just know a lot of them came. And I know a lot of our staff came too. And the difference in cost was minimal to what it was on a normal day. So I definitely want to compliment our staff for being resilient, for coming in and taking care of our kids, doing what's right for our kids. And I don't want you to think you're not being heard and not seen, because you are. And this is just a tough decision for me. I will support what our board supports, but I definitely need to be heard in regards to what I expect for our kids and what I hope for them as well in regards to having a safe place to go. Thank you, Mr. President.
Dr. Wyatt. Mrs. Alexander?
Thank you, President Tillman. I support all of my colleagues, as we did have to make a tough decision, and it has been a challenge for us all to come together, but we find it critically important. And just wanted to convey to the public that, you know, one, thank you, as Dr. Wyatt said, thank you to all of the staff members and their commitment and coming in. And our ultimate goal is to the students, the scholars, but we also understand the risk that our staff members had to take as well, from Superintendent Ariano, his cabinet, as well as the teachers and all of the staff members that went on school sites to work. We appreciate your commitment. And it is an emotional decision. I was leaning on more of closing the schools, but we also have to make sure that we have to take care of all the students that need a place to come to outside of just coming to school and learning. But as my other colleague mentioned, it's just the students that don't have a safe environment to live in and don't have food. And it's important that they have those resources as well. And I have read comments out there and saying things that what we're doing, and it's not really perfectly, it's not true. You know, the students are our number one priority, and we care. And I agree. I am supporting closing the schools now because it is unpredictable. And I have a son who suffers from asthma, and I've been that parent. So I understand the plight and I understand the importance of it, but I also am sensitive to the students who don't have the same resources that other students have, and school is a safe place for them. So I hope you all understand how emotional it has been for us, and we will always make the right decision or try to make the right decision possible. So again, I just wanted to make sure I expressed that. I want to thank everybody that's there because I take you seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Alexander. Mr. Biles?
Sorry about that. Thank you so much. I'm going to open my computer because I kind of wrote some thoughts because it's not an easy decision, right? I agree with my colleagues. And so first and foremost, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. And thank you for sharing your concerns with us all. I want to start off by letting you know that your concerns have not fallen on deaf ears, and thus why we have moved to hold an emergency meeting. So I hope that just us mobilizing and just being here tonight shows all of you that your concerns are important and we have heard them, regardless of what outcome comes out of tonight. I also want to say thank you to all the employees. Thank you, really. All employees, Superintendent Ariano, Eric Vatier, cabinet members, union representatives, and then also just all district employees for your hard work and your dedication and commitment to the district. I read through every single one of the emails that I received from each and every single one of you on the 2 different email accounts that I have, because I use a personal one, and then I went back to the district email and I realized I had a whole bunch there too. So I read through every single one. I was sent the link to the petition and I opened the comments on there and I read, I wouldn't say through every single one of them because there was almost 5,000, but I did get a good read on a good portion of those, and a lot of the comments were very similar in nature. So again, I say that to say that we're watching, we're paying attention, we're hearing you. Many of you are concerned about your health and safety, which I completely understand, and parents, obviously the health and safety of your children. I also noticed another message, though, that maybe wasn't as evident in the messages. It was more kind of like an undertone message, and whether my interpretation of it is correct or not, this is what I gathered. And what I gathered was that you may feel as though you're not a priority to the district, because President Tillman made the decision as the board president to think about what he's already expressed, the well-being of the children that are not able to or don't have a safe place at home, which I really do appreciate. As a matter of fact, I'm not upset because it's a difficult decision even for me as I sit here to kind of grapple with the two, right? And it's not easy, and it's not an easy thing. I appreciate Mr. Tillman and the rest of the board for coming together on such short notice and agreeing to do that, upon the request. So again, it's not something that we take lightly. I want to reassure you that you are a priority to this district and to the board. But again, it's not an easy decision for us to make, and we don't take it lightly, as you've already heard my colleagues. So with that being said, I wanted to hear from the community, because that's why we held the board meeting. I wanted to first, before making any votes or anything like that, because I didn't come here predetermined to close or leave it open. I came here with the intention to hear what the community had to say. And then based on that conversation, that discussion, if there are other alternatives, as has already been mentioned, could we do both? Could we prioritize staff and their needs while still giving students the opportunity to still have a safe place to come to? And if that's an option, definitely is something that I would like to hear, from our staff, to see if that's something that we're even able to make happen. So I'll leave with that. I hope that we don't rush and move forward to making a vote, and we actually do, take the time to listen, as that's what we're here for. So thank you so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Biles. Dr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mrs. Vice President. One more comment I wanted to make, for clarity, is, in the many emails we've seen and the postings on social media, is that, there's a thought out there that we're doing this about money. It is not about money. We get fully reimbursed when we close our schools. Okay, we get reimbursed for our schools when they close. So those of you that think that we're keeping them open for money, that is not the case. There's what's called a government form J13. We file it in an emergency situation so we don't lose money. Okay, so we do get compensated for what would be considered lost revenue through attendance. Okay, so I think that needs to be clear to the folks out there, is that the district would be paid if we closed. So if that was our intent, money, we would just close and say we're closing. That's not the case. Our decision's made based on our children's needs, number one, our families' needs, number one. Then we want to have a safe environment. You know, that is what I was elected for, was to take care of our kids, take care of the city, take care of our community. Okay, that's why I'm here. Okay, so if it was about money, we would have just closed and said, let's just collect a check and everybody go home for the day or for the days or for the week. That is not the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Wyatt. Ms. Grande?
President Tillman, I'd like to table my motion so we can hear from the community.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Thank you. We'll do that. And then, Mr. Hussey, did you have a comment? Mr. Hussey?
Sorry, I'm trying to.
Yeah, turn off your video. You don't have the bandwidth for the video. Turn off your video and just speak. Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. I am camping and on a long planned trip, so I apologize for not being there. So I tried to answer as many folks that reached out to me as I possibly could. I think a lot of the rationale for why I supported Mr. Tillman's and Mr. Ariano's decision has been stated. I just want to say that it's not about not caring, because we care very much. It's probably quite the opposite, and trying to provide as many options as we could for our families and our employees. And I don't want to repeat everything that my colleagues have said. You know, it's difficult when you can't have conversations. You know, as a board, we could not have this conversation until today, which makes, you know, decision making much more difficult when you can't really have the kinds of conversations in an emergency that you need to have. So I appreciate everyone's patience as we go through this. And I just want to say thank you to our employees. I've heard from folks who were teachers and families who were grateful that we were open because of a variety of different reasons, and those who have struggled with the decision that we had to remain open. So I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate our employees and families who, you know, have been there. And I too hope that we can find a solution that works for our families that need us, and our families that need to make decisions that, you know, to remain home and to keep their children, and our employees who need to stay safe. So again, thank you, and I'm gonna let the community speak so that we can.
Thank you, Mrs. Shusky. Let me go to Ms. Medina. This could be the last comment for the board, then I'm going to entertain the public comments. Ms.
Right,
Medina?
no, it's just to clarify. So I know that many of us have received letters, but what I was referring to disappointed, it's more on the social media aspect, on certain comments. There was a lot of good information of the things that we're missing out. We did make, you know, even when students came back, we noticed things could have been better. I do want to mention that we do have we invested during COVID time, the HEPA filtration system scrubbers that many school districts don't even have, and we have those in our school sites. Now, can we do better to make sure all of the filtration systems within it is working the way it should? Yes, but I do feel like that was one area that, at least within the school sites, it had clean air for our students, that even at their own homes, they, you know, a lot of them they have swamp coolers, as was mentioned. Some of them don't have air conditioners. Actually, their air quality is probably worse at home than in some cases, even in our own schools. So a lot of the air pulls from the outside inside the house. And so I just wanted to note that. And then we also have all these warehouses. I mean, that contributes. And so one of the aspects is that looking at how we're all looking at monitoring the air quality, which is perfect, because now we're getting to see that also the warehouses that are allowed to be close to us is also impacting. So it's another way to look at it.
And just adding on to that, Ms. Medina, I got an email from someone that said, in your speech, you talked about swamp coolers, and there are classrooms that have swamp coolers. I talked to Terry today, and he gave me a list of maybe 100, but we're going to look at that and make sure we do install air conditioning units instead of the swamp coolers. So that's one good thing that came out of this issue. With that, I'm going to go to public comment, and I am going to tell you right now that I'm going to end public comment with this last one. So we're not going to have any other public comments. The one I got here is the last one, okay? Because what normally happens is people hear comments, get hyped up, want to talk, and we'll go on for 4 hours. So this is the last public comment. The first one is, I think I'm being a little too honest tonight. I need to, the first one is, I think it's Jeannie Norwood. And if I pronounce your name incorrectly, do not take it personal. Just go to the microphone and tell us how it's pronounced properly, and I apologize ahead of time. Thank you very much.
I had a quick question. If the schools remain open and we don't send our kids to school, how does that affect their grades?
Ms. Norwood, thank you for your question. And it will not affect their grades. We are under a hold harmless policy, which means we freeze grades if we go into closure, and the students cannot fall below the grade level or the grade where they were when we closed, and they'll be given plenty of opportunity for makeups. So it will not affect their grades.
No, I said if they stay open, but we don't send the kids to school.
It's the same thing because it's a health, hazard, and we are under a, through the state, we're under a state of emergency.
Okay. And then I just had one more comment that I did see all the posts on social media about money and funding and things like that. And I've been to many board meetings, and the amount of parents that show up should let people know that the kids are safer at school, because no one comes. So if you really cared, you would be here advocating for your kids every board meeting. But this room is never full. So that's it.
Was Tatiana Eden Ochoa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tatiana Eden Ochoa. I'm usually a student board member, which you guys know, and I'm a senior at Cajon High School. And though I have always built a strong relationship with knowing you guys and know that a lot of your decisions I support, today my role is to voice the opinions and the things that students are going through, since that is my role as a student board member. So I would like to go over some concerns that students have had and just share their point of view. First and foremost, the air quality poses a serious danger for many students, not only those who are asthmatic, but also those who are attending schools in either the areas closer to the fire. I attend Cajon, but there is still a lot of ashes falling on students today. And that's not only a concern, but I understand that a lot of students that are not able to attend have actually been in the circumstances of having to deal with their not only worrying about grades and those types of things, because the classes are continuing with the curriculum and they're still being assigned homework and there's still tests this week planned. But I also think that a major concern for students was that even though school hasn't been officially canceled yet, that a lot of their events have already been canceled, such as football games as well as their rallies. So things that were planned throughout this week already have already had a stop to them. And I know that's one concern for students. I would also like to make a point on how for a lot of students, I think that I should also represent the students who are dealing with situations at home and have any concerns about their living situations. And given that I also support those students as well, I understand that your initial decision in making sure that the schools stayed open, and I did support it. However, considering that the circumstances of the fire have only continued, and there's a concern with not only the air quality index, which I just looked at, and it has been increasing in a negative manner, but I also know that there is a level of concern from students about how they're being supported by you. And I know that students, a lot of times, they don't know exactly how the board works, and they don't know how decision making is made, and maybe they're not even watching this meeting. But I think that in order for you to gain their support, and through the comments that I've heard, and a lot of students have gone to me personally saying that they feel unsafe at school, and a lot of students don't have the option to stay at school not to attend school if they don't feel like it, because there's a lot of parents that are pressing, if the school says it's fine, then you're fine. And I think you guys have to understand that you guys are the leaders in making those choices and decisions, and in this state of disaster and emergency that has been declared, that students should be a number one priority, in which I understand. So I just want to continue to voice those opinions, and we need to be equitable with these solutions. Another point that I would like to make that was brought up earlier was about the HEPA filters. Not only have a lot of those, not every school that I have heard has been appropriately given those, but also I do have a concern about long-term, how those HEPA filters are being overworked because of the current emergency, and how I would hope that those filters would be changed sometime in the future, because I think it's very important for air quality for the students, not only for this incident, but to continue on. And to bottom line, I think that I really care for the students in my school district, obviously, because I take an active key role in the board, and I am always making sure to advocate for them. And though I do support your reasoning, I do think that at this moment that the public outcry from students have been to cancel school, because the education that they're currently receiving for the classes that are continuing is a concern. And as well, a lot of their events have been canceled already because of this emergency. So that is just the public opinion that I did want to share as a student board member. And either way, I know that your decision will be well informed, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Olivia Wagner.
Hi, so I'd like to preface this first by saying that I'm sorry if I do come off a little rude and a little angry, because the truth is that me, as well as a lot of students, are currently angry with the decision that has been made. So, hello, my name is Olivia Wagner, and I am currently an attendee of Cajon High School. Today, I went to school as per your decision to keep schools open. The past few days, the air has been tough on my lungs, even though I do not have asthma or any other conditions. And other students have also expressed the same feeling. During my 7th period today, I overheard a student saying that because the ash chunks are so large that are coming down on Cajon, it got into her eyes and it caused her eyes to burn. But this isn't the only, these aren't the only people that are currently suffering from the situation. I've seen teachers not going outside to greet their students anymore because they don't want to let the smoke into their classrooms, and they don't want to be in the smoke themselves. While they may be showing up, they're also showing up because, again, you are all the leaders. You guys are making the decisions, and because you decided to keep schools open, they feel inclined to show up. And I would also like to bring up that there are a lot of dangers to the air quality that I think that have not been quite taken into account. Specifically, I'd like to bring up the fact that the air quality can cause developmental disorders, especially in growing children. And if we're sending especially elementary and younger kids to schools, this is a problem. If this is actively harming our kids, and truthfully, when I'm at school, I don't feel safe there when I look up to the sky and I see that it's dark red and that there's smoke and that there's clouds. But I also don't feel safe there for other reasons, but I won't touch on that right now. And I'd also like to bring up the fact that Redlands, Yucaipa, and other nearby school districts have been closing. I understand that you guys feel a little bit pressured to see that other districts are closing around you, but if these other districts are closing, they likely have a rightful reason to if they are also being affected by poor air quality, and also the fact that Governor Gavin Newsom has said that this is a current state of emergency and that this is a problem. This is a current problem that is going on, and we are still allowing our kids to go to school during such a harsh and trying time. And I'd also like to talk about the petitions that you all talked about earlier. So outside of the one that you guys did bring up, there are 2 others, 3 in total, with over 12,000 combined signatures, at least of the time of when I wrote this. So I would like to say that there is indeed an outcry from students and parents that the schools should be closed right now. And I would also like to bring up the fact that, like Tatiana did say before, some students don't have a choice on whether they can or cannot go to school, because some students don't feel safe to go to school right now. I have a friend that his parents don't let him go to school unless he's gravely sick. So he is still forced to go to school even though he doesn't really want to be there because he doesn't feel safe at the current moment with all the smoke and the ashes and the flames. So, but today before this board meeting, I walked out into the red sky and the polluted air, and I had to go to school in these same conditions that continue to make me feel unsafe. I hope you realize that continuing to keep the schools open is currently not the right decision because it harms us and makes us, the students, feel unsafe. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Ashley Bettis Alcada.
Good evening, President Tillman, Vice President Ceballos, Mr. Ariano, esteemed members of the board and cabinet. My name is Ashley Bettis Alcala, and I am the president of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. And tonight I'm speaking on behalf of our 3,000 dedicated members of our association. First and foremost, our thoughts are with all of our members and their families who are affected by the line fire. I was just sent a picture of one of our members who lives up in Phelan of the fire racing towards her house right now, and she's trying to evacuate her family and her farm animals because the bridge fire in the last 2 hours has exploded into 30,000 acres. And we know that smoke from that fire is going to come towards our schools depending on the way that the wind is blowing, because we have a school in DeVore, and we know where the rest of our schools sit out in the north end as well. We sincerely hope that everyone is staying safe in these times when they have to make difficult decisions about themselves and their families. However, tonight we must address the critical issue of our district's decision to remain open. In recent days, I have been overwhelmed with calls, emails, and messages from our concerned members and staff. They are questioning why our district continues to remain open while districts like Redlands, Yucaipa, Rialto, and Colton have chosen to close due to unsafe conditions, and of course, Rim of the World, because now Running Springs has also been affected today and is on fire. These districts are acting in accordance with the governor-declared state of emergency. The air quality is severely compromised, and just because you can't see what's floating in the air doesn't mean that what you're breathing in isn't affecting you. And we know that because we know the air quality in our community is not that great on a normal day. Temperatures are dangerously high, and our infrastructure is struggling to keep up. People who are coming to work are having to have the burden of picking up the slack for those who have to make the decision not to be there. It's difficult for our members and the public to understand why our district has not taken similar action. Floating ash and unhealthy air are not merely discomforts, they present serious health risks, and our teachers, staff, and students are being exposed to these unsafe conditions, and many of them have been sharing their stories of personal hardship. Some are having to take time off to care for their own children whose schools have closed. Others are facing mandatory evacuations or dealing with worsening health conditions.
Additionally, our students are walking between classrooms, and at the secondary level, we know that a lot of them are eating outside because that's the only setup available. It's clear that current conditions are not conducive to optimal learning or working. And while we appreciate that N95 masks are being distributed, this is only a temporary solution that doesn't address the underlying issues. And we are also concerned about the maintenance of the HEPA air purifiers. And we know that they've been working for a long time, and we want to ensure that those filters are still able to filter out those particles within the air. Our members are understandably concerned about being asked to continue working in conditions that neighboring districts have deemed unsafe for their own communities. There seems to be a disconnect between actions being taken and the real-time impact on our staff and students. And we're calling on the district to reconsider its decision to remain open and to align with surrounding districts that have put safety first. We know this is not an easy decision, but the health and well-being of our students, staff, and our educators must be your top priority. And I encourage you to pass the motion that Ms. Aviles Grande put forward tonight to close for the rest of the week. I think it's the right thing to do. And I know we can come up with ways to help our community that does need us during this time as well, as we've done in the past during COVID. In times of crisis, it's crucial that we act decisively to protect those we serve and those we love. As a mother of an 8-year-old who saw the sky above her school today darkening and was very scared, I can only imagine how our kids feel every day coming to our schools and our teachers having to help make them feel safe. We ask that you reflect on the concerns raised tonight and take the necessary steps to safeguard our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Color. Ruben Torres Gutierrez, I believe.
Let me just pull up my document real quick. Okay. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Ruben Torres, and I am a freshman currently at Cohona High School. I'm here alongside many other students and parents and some teachers who are outraged by the district's decision to keep schools open during the line fire. As we know, this fire began on September 5th, 2024, and in just 5 days, it has grown over to 27,000 acres. Now, to put this into perspective, if we divide 27,000 by the size of this building, which is approximately 4.2 acres, that is equivalent to over 6,000 times of this size of this building. Now, just imagine that this building in flames. Now, imagine from all the smoke that's made from these fires. This doesn't account for all the smokes released. When we step outside, it looks like an apocalypse. Videos circulating around social media and the internet posted by students and parents over the internet shows how embarrassing and terrible the condition is of what we have to endure at schools. This is embarrassing because we're the only district impacted by the fire being open. Other districts shut down altogether, so why is our district the only one? I'm not sure if you've seen, well, I'm sure you've seen some of the social media posts, but the outrage is clear. Other districts are mocking us, and this shouldn't be the situation. The air outside is hazardous, and we have to walk through the smoke to get to class. The ACs provided is not for outside. We have outside schools, we have indoor schools, but the fact of the matter is, for Cajon High School, for example, I have to walk to the B building all the way to the E portables. I have to breathe through that smoke. And the worst situation is, it's not just me, it's all the 40,000 kids that attend our district. It's embarrassing what students have to endure in these conditions. The students with asthma, the students with health conditions, we should take that into consideration altogether. This is not a good look in our district. Excused absences are not the way to go. Rather, shutting down our education for the sake of the state of emergency is the way to go. I've read the district's message explaining that many families depend on our schools to be safe learning environments. But as of right now, this is not a safe environment we're currently at. That's the issue. This is disrupting our education. Many students who aren't attending school still have to make up the work at the end of the day. And once they arrive to school, they have to learn what the day's plan is on top of the work that they missed because they didn't attend school because of whatever reason, whether you're in the evacuation warning, whether you're in the evacuation order. We're all impacted by this issue as a district. Now, for example, me, I do speech and debate, mock trial, and I am part of the middle years program. And so I cannot just imagine how much work I have to, do once I arrive to school, possibly tomorrow, if you don't reconsider to, close down schools. So for me, for example, I can already see on Google Classroom, because I have Google Classroom on my phone, to see all the assignments that continuously being posted. I have to make up those assignments on top of today's assignments. Now, that's not to mention the quiz I missed on Monday that I have to go next Wednesday to, make up. I have a tournament for speech and debate coming up next week, but I have to worry about the fire, and the fire should be the main priority as a society, as a district. Now, the district should have explored other alternatives that wouldn't compromise our educations. Schools should be closed, period, but they should set up what's called a safe zone for children and meal distributions to support families in needs. What this exactly means is that this would be a better solution. Why? Because you can have some high schools open that's not officially open for education, but have meal distributions between breakfast and lunch, and you can have childcare for families who have to work, and ultimately children who have to face different issues that, luckily enough, I am privileged, so I don't have to face those issues, but I've met friends firsthand that they had to face those issues. So if it was really about our children, we should have safe zones, not to have everyone mandated to go to school. And the excuse absences is more than just the issue, because like I said, you have to continuously do the work. So hopefully you will consider on that matter. So I'm glad that I'm given the opportunity, obviously, to express my concerns. This is the first time I'm here at the, whole entire building and, giving kind of a speech sort of thing. So I really do hope this board takes the public comments seriously and reconsiders its approach moving forward. Because as we all can see, the fire is growing by the day. By the second, firefighters have to continuously work day and night to try to put out the fire. So why is school the first priority, and why is education the first priority if other families have to deal with evacuation orders, evacuation warnings, and yet we still have to send our children to school? For example, my parents, they won't let me go to school due to the ashes, but I've had people send me videos of Cajon High School, of Sanji, and the first thing I see is the yellow sky. The first thing I see is the clouds over the school. It looks like an apocalypse. I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, but that's exactly what it looks like. And I have to give a reference in order for the board to at least understand the scope of this situation. Obviously, every high school is different, but we need to consider as a district that we need to shut down schools and have safe zones to accommodate for those people in need. So thank you very, very much, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Torres Gutierrez. Hugo Trejo.
Good afternoon, distinguished board members. My name is Hugo Trejo, and just like my classmates there, I am also from Cajon High School. The reason why I came here on such a late notice is because this is an important matter, a matter that affects our entire community. School and education is extremely important to a thriving society, and because of that, I believe we should relook at the way we're considering whether or not we should close our schools. I believe we should. To put it simply, we're in a dark time, and the only way to get through this time is by closing schools. Schools are not safe as it currently stands. As my classmate said, there are orange skies, ashes in the air, and just bad air to breathe in. It's not a safe environment. No student should be forced to put in these environments. And here's an important thing. I understand that you guys outlined how it's optional, how if parents truly feel that it's not the best option for their student, just call and ask for them to be excused. But the reality is, this is not how it works. Just like students who are taking honor roll classes or MYP classes, they are backed up on the curriculum because they are choosing to prioritize their health over their academics. No student should be forced to prioritize straight A's over their respiratory system. That is simply inhumane. And the reality is, we are not prepared to mitigate this issue. I know how you guys mentioned that over 40,000 students have gone to school, and this is an important figure to look at, especially because you guys are board members. But the reality is, just because 40,000 students showed up to school doesn't mean you made the right choice. It just means you put 40,000 students in the line of fire. The reality is most parents don't understand that you can just call up the school and ask them to excuse your student. Most parents think that because you guys, the leaders of this community, said the schools are open and it's all right to go to school, it's safe, it's perfectly fine. The reality is it's not. Just like previous people have commented on the HEPA filtration, it's been there since 2020. That's not safe. The filtration systems need to be changed, or something needs to happen about it. You can't just comment and say that filtration systems will make all the smoke go away. What about high schools like Cajon and Indian Springs that are open campuses? Those campuses, you are forced to go outside to breathe ashes and dangerous air in order to get to your period 2 math class. That's not safe. And no amount of, according to an AQI, will mitigate the fact that it's unsafe. There's ash in the air. You can't breathe that. That's unsafe. Not only that, but I want to ask you guys, do you guys really believe that you guys made the right choice? That students like me and the people sitting behind me are safe every time they go to school? Because I believe we're not safe. That schools are unsafe as it currently stands, and we need to relook and rework the system to close schools, at least by the time that it's safe and there's no ash, there's no smoke, and it's safe to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trejo. Mr. Ambriani.
I just want to say, these are Cajon kids. They're pretty sharp. I'm extremely proud to be a staff member at Cajon with these kind of students, and their passion is tremendous. I just want to make sure that we all understand that I respect everybody's opinion. I respect all my teacher colleagues and classified colleagues that don't want to be, that feel unsafe. And I heard what Mr. Tillman said today. And if that's the case, then people have choices. I personally would hope there's a choice. I don't disagree with the kids at all. If they don't feel safe, then they shouldn't have to be there and not held accountable for their assignments. Because I had students like them, and my daughter, my youngest, is still a stress ball up at Berkeley right now. She just tried to call me right now, so I know something about school. So I don't want them held accountable for the assignments and things that they're going through, because I know exactly what they're talking about because I had it in my household. So please understand that when you make this vote, that's stressed, and that we understand that what affects all of our students, not just the ones like Ms. Medina was talking about, which I completely understand, and that's kind of where I'm going. Our young lady talked about the activities being canceled. I've been fighting since Saturday morning to make sure that our kids still had a homecoming and still had an event, because this is a big week. Seniors in high school only get this homecoming one time. So we've put in place to travel down to Orange County in a very good part of Southern California to play our game. And I know it's not as big as what you're discussing. I'm just making a point that there are things that I don't want to take away from kids and our kids that we've set up, and we're prepared to get out of here because we haven't practiced. We don't want to practice in this weather. It's very observant. You look up. It is what it is. But I don't want to shut down things that we can do when we have the chance to still do them. So is it going to be ideal? No. But we want to continue to do the things that we can do. And I hate to tell everybody, but this may not be the end of the week. On Saturday, the fires aren't going to be out. So I don't want to disrupt any more of their time as I can. And I want them, because we all went through COVID, and we all went through those days. And that must have put on 15 years of my career. So I'm at about 50 something right now in career years. So please understand there's numerous activities that we could still do, not here. And I don't want them to not have a chance. So that's all I'm getting at. I respect every one of your opinions and what you vote on, and we will abide by what you vote upon. But just understand what, the things that we're trying to prepare to do. And again, it's not going to end possibly Saturday. I wish it would, but it may not. So let's be prepared for that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emriani. Joseph Saldana.
Good evening, everybody. Let me pull up my... Okay, so first off, I would like to mention somebody that physically cannot be here today. My friend Amy Claudius, her house is surrounded by roads that are completely shut down. She cannot make it to school. How is she supposed to keep up with the assignments in her classes? She has missed 3 quizzes that she cannot make up. What is she supposed to do? If you really walked outside, you wouldn't only see the orange overcast, but have smelled the very prominent smell of smoke. My questions for you are, did you test the air? What is your data to make this decision on? Did you really make your decision on a feeling or a hunch? It is genuinely so embarrassing what is happening right now. Calling out of school is just not an option. I personally miss Monday, and the amount of work you miss, especially if you're an honor roll or an IB student, is insane. Just about every single district has closed down for days, if not the entire week. You talk about student athletes wanting to participate in practicing games, though at my school, Cajon, they have shut down every single after-school activity. They shut down our homecoming rally. How are you blind to what is going on right now, but not my school? Maybe you just couldn't see the air quality or smell at the golf course? You bring up the students in dangerous situations. My heart goes out to them. But what happens when those kids suddenly fall ill or there's a school holiday? There are community centers for students that really have nowhere to go. And instead of keeping the schools open, give out lunches. Do a drive-by lunch handout. That can be far more helpful than keeping the schools open. We are in the middle of 3 fires, and the fact that members on this board are playing golf is straight up cartoonish and embarrassing. Please close the schools and listen to your staff and students.
Thank you, Mr. Saldana. Ana Gonzalez.
So good evening, members. I don't know how to follow that after these amazing students. Good job, by the way. So my name's Ana Gonzalez, and I am here representing the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, and we have been talking to several school districts since Friday, since the fire started. And it just finally dawned on me that I thought San Bernardino schools were going to do the right thing, and they didn't. So here we are. But first, the science. The California Department of Education gives school districts guidance about emergency school closures. There's a section that recommends school districts to track air quality emergencies on Air Now. So I brought my tablet to show you what Air Now is saying, because I heard that we are showing green. We are, in fact, in the orange and red. That's what the Department of Education recommends. So with that, I don't think this community appreciates the micro gaslighting that staff has used monitors that show we are in the green, when in fact most air monitors don't pick up fire smoke because the particles are much bigger than PM 2.5 and PM 10. The CDE also states that the superintendent has the authority to shut down schools in state of emergencies, while the governor of California has already declared a state of emergency for us on Saturday. How can these students are able to articulate better about this emergency than our leaders? I'm just so astounded by that. San Bernardino faces an average of 175 red ozone days, 175 in average. The American Lung Association already has rated San Bernardino with an F. For us educators, an F means fail. Our leaders have failed our communities for years, since we stand on an F rating for a decade in San Bernardino. So our communities are already impacted with their lungs due to the impacts of air quality. Then, Board Member Medina brought a good point. Our communities are not just being impacted by the smoke fire. Because of the proliferation of warehouses and truck traffic, we have high levels of particulate matter 2.5 exposure, NOx, ozone, methane, and other pollutants on top of this hazardous smoke. This means our kids are being exposed to diesel dead zones every single day, hence why we have the highest asthma rates in the entire nation. How can we not call our schools to shut down immediately, knowing that we already have the highest rates of asthma in the entire nation? The real conversation y'all should be having right now is, how do we prepare our schools to be community schools and have them ready to be shelters? And if parents need a safe space to take their children, let's have a plan for that. And how will you ensure that staff get paid regardless? Some staffers are evacuating or helping family members evacuate. Why should we make them use their sick or PTO balances in the middle of a climate emergency? We should pay them, period. So with that, I will end my time, since I want to hear more wonderful students speak. I hope you do the right thing and listen. And I get it. Some parents don't have a safe space to take their children, or some parents are just too busy or too stressed in this economy to bring bread to the table. But let's do the right thing and keep our students safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. James Harris.
My name is James Harris. I'm a teacher at Indian Springs High School, and I don't always come to these meetings, and I felt I really just wanted to sit at home and watch this on YouTube, but I felt a need to come here, and I'm going to reference a bunch of the comments that have already been made. First, I want to let you all know that I went to bat for you guys for the last 2 days with my students. I asked them about what they thought about the schools being open and they should be closed, and what they thought and what their criticisms were. And they mentioned about the money, and I pointed out that we don't get any extra money for staying open, that it's been declared a state of emergency, and I explained to them about ADA and how our attendance, our ADA was actually lower for the last 2 days, and if anything, we might risk getting less ADA. And I mentioned how there are families that need a place. They can't keep them at home. They need to go to work, and they need to earn a living, and they need to be able to send their kids to school. So I want you to know that I understand your reasoning why you kept open, and it seems like right now we have two choices. Like, we have choice A, stay open, so parents who need a place to send their kids to school so they can go to work have a place, or B, fully closed, so that students don't have to choose between their respiratory system and their straight A's. Because I know a lot of students who work awful damn hard for those straight A's, and if they have to jump over a lava flow to get their straight A's, they will do it. It is not an easy choice, and I do not envy you your seats right now. I told them, well, why our kids have to go to school? And I told them, no, you don't have to go to school. It says in the message right there. It wasn't that long of a message. It says if you need to keep your students home, call and keep your students home. But what I've heard from these students just now is that's not actuality. That's not reality. If a lot of these kids are being told, why do we have 40,000 of our students there if they don't want to go? Because a lot of parents say if school's open, then you're going. And the students don't get a lot of choice. And the parents that aren't saying that to these students, apparently, again, when they're choosing between straight A's and the respiratory system, a fair number are choosing the straight A's because they have college they want to go to, because they have jobs and careers they want to go to. Teachers, yes, teachers, you could stay home. No, sorry, with the students, just one more thing. We were told just a moment ago that it's a state of emergency and a hold harmless policy is in effect. One, I don't think the students are buying it. I don't think the students are buying it. There's home harmless, okay, fine, but what about when we get back? Will the hold harmless thing make up for the fact that I missed a week of school because I stayed home because I had decided I chose respiratory system over straight A's? Will it protect me when I get back and I'm behind because the teachers have been teaching full steam ahead? Because I've talked to a few math teachers that I know because I'm a math teacher. And I know math teachers at multiple sites. And I asked them, how are you guys planning around this? Because I'm trying to do lesson planning right now. And I've got half of my students on average in my classroom. I don't know how we have 92%. That's got to be factoring elementary school. I have on average about half. In 2 classes, I had literally, actually, 1/3 of my students present. Like I did the math because math third. The students aren't buying it. And I think the teachers are unaware. The hold harmless policy, I found out about that here, sitting here today. I didn't know that. I had planned to do that myself, personally. But I didn't know that. If there's a hold harmless policy in place, we need to let the teachers know. And we need to, clarify that. From the teacher standpoint, yeah, the teachers can stay home, but okay, I live in the mountain communities, and my community is under a evacuation warning right now, which is a optional evacuation. But when California decides it's mandatory, they're serious about it and they mean it right now. For 2 days now, I come to school, I come to work because that's where I belong. But for 2 days, I left not knowing if I'd be able to get back home, if they would put it mandatory evaluation. In my car right now, at this very moment, right over there in my car, in my trunk, is a suitcase.
Time.
If school's open, I will be there to teach it. But I wish there was a choice C, somewhere in between.
Thank you very much. Damian Delgado.
Oh, my bad. Hello, my name is Damon Delgado, a sophomore attending Pacific High School. A report from a girl from San G, a student, in fact. Also, sorry if I come off rude and strong, but my Lord, the situation caused a fire in my heart for passion of my people. Because although, yes, I stand close and loyal towards my government, but this is just questionable at this point. So with that report, hello, Mr. Joe Baca Jr. Not only do as I, as a student that goes to a school closest to the fire, believe that your decision was not made for the reason people need food, people need shelter, was rather a cover-up to your reasoning, but leads me to believe that you choose money over the safety of students. Not only the students, but your teachers as well. Many students have the ability to call off and stay home, but are more than willing to stay, are doing students a favor. And students are forced to come because if they do not, they are faced with fines and visits from police. Wow. This smoke is haunting us and hurting us more and more as time goes by. Now, this report shows that there are people who are against this decision more and more. And personally, I think they're just going to keep attacking you. Now, you could start listening to them. That will make them trust you a lot more. However, one positive thing we can take from this is that people are wanting to take charge for things they want. Like this girl who strongly believes wants her school to shut down, especially because how close her school is to the fires. Another report made from a student by Arroyo Valley told me that he needed his inhaler, but his school denied him. That looks bad, doesn't it? Not only a student who has asthma problems is forced to keep going to school, but he couldn't even get his inhaler. That's really something. One student from my school, in fact, had to report to me that ash fell in her eyes, harming her. That's also something. One more report made by a best friend from my school kept saying that she kept coughing. You can say you'll get this under control, but this problem is only spreading more and more, and it's happening fast day by day. The fire is spread by 33,000 acres. That's a lot. Your board can make decisions of whoever made this choice for some schools to keep attending, but one thing you must understand is that us people are becoming filled with hatred that will one day negatively affect our community trust and bond. I ask for you to begin to listen to everyone, no matter their opinion, as well as we are in this together. And about those homeless people in the parks, you gave them ACs like you privileged Discord people have, district people, my bad, have at your home, comfortably in your little untouched forest, unmarked by flame. I don't think so. So although I'm not religious whatsoever, if there's some sort of God in any shape or form, may it save us from corruption, destruction, and from all of this.
Thank you, Mr. Delgado. Blanca Lopez.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Good evening, board.
Mi nombre es Blanca López. Vengo porque pido que por favor cierren las escuelas. Mi hijo es asmático y tiene, ayer lo tuve que llevar a emergencia porque estaba batallando para respirar. Y yo lo llevaba a la escuela porque digo, no quiero que baje sus grados, porque aquí el distrito ayuda a que los estudiantes vayan a la escuela. Y yo le dije, mijo, tienes que ir a la escuela.
Okay, my name is Blanca Lopez, and I have a son who's going to school which has asthma. I had to take him to the emergency room because he was having issues breathing. He didn't want to miss school, but I told him he was worried because his grades will go down.
Y me preocupa que otros distritos sí apoyan a los estudiantes para que puedan estar en sus casas con un aire más confortable que afuera, que es al aire libre. Y me preocupa que aquí el distrito de San Bernardino no hagan eso. Y estamos más cerca de los juegos. Yo pienso que cada problema se aprende. Y cada problema hay una mejor aprendiz.
So I am concerned because other districts, they do seem to support their students to stay at home and not outdoor as here. We are actually closer to the fires, and I think that we can learn from our mistakes.
Me gustaría que como ya tenemos la práctica del COVID, ustedes ya hubieran reaccionado porque los juegos empezaron desde el jueves de la semana pasada. Ustedes como comité deberían de estar más preparados en decir, ok, ya es lunes, es martes, vamos a checar cómo está el sistema del aire y mandar a los... Si ya tenían ustedes ya una plataforma de dar clases en línea, rápido los hubieran usado.
So so I would like just to mention that as we have done in the past, we should have learned from the past experience, like when we had COVID. We should have checked, since this fire started on past Thursday, we should have checked continuously the air quality to make right decisions to keep the schools open on Monday and Tuesday.
Vengo a compartir no para señalarnos, porque todos somos comunidad y entonces por comunidad tenemos que hablar y decir en qué fallamos y en qué aprendemos. Entonces como comunidad es bonito escuchar a los estudiantes que vienen a dar sus consejos, sus preocupaciones al board.
So I'm here to share, not to judge. It is important for us as a community to hear our students and know what they think and have to share and come together as a community.
Por eso pido por favor que escuchen a los estudiantes y padres de familias que estamos aquí pidiendo de favor que cierren las escuelas por el momento del humo, la contaminación. Y se puede llegar a una estrategia de clases en líneas. Los maestros y alumnos estaremos más seguros. Muchas gracias por su tiempo.
And I am here to please ask, to kindly ask that you listen to parents and students that want to close a school so they can be safer in a safer environment. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Antoinette Hatch.
Hello, I was not prepared to come today. I seen a notice that there was a board meeting and I chose to come. I'm a parent of a second grader. Regardless of her grade level, I think her education matters. I also feel that it is important to hold our children's health accountable here. I have not been sending my child. Personally, I think her health matters. I know that you guys say, I don't know who it was, I think it was Dr. Scott Wyatt, that mentioned the subject that it would be fully funded if closed. My comment to you guys is then close it. If you guys can fully afford to close the district and make comments in regards to the financial aspect of this, you guys can see that all these parents and students behind me are worried about their safety, their health, their grades, their education, but the school remains open. It is sad to me, it is disheartening that the fire started in San Bernardino. The line fire started in San Bernardino, yet San Bernardino continues to become the only district that the district seems to not care about the health or safety of our kids, but they want to address that it's not about the money. I'd like to defer. And with that statement, I think that all schools in San Bernardino should be closed. I am very upset at this whole situation. As a parent, I will not be sending my kid, and you guys will be excusing every single absence of her while this fire is in place. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Hatch. Megan Owens.
Good evening. My name is Megan Owens, and I am a 5th grade teacher. I'm here to talk to you not just as a teacher, but as a school mom to the 32 5th graders that I'm in the classroom with every single day. Okay, I didn't come here tonight intending to speak. I wanted to show my support, but after hearing some of the insensitive and, to be honest, insulting comments by some board members, I felt the need to speak. Okay, we've heard a lot about keeping our students safe. So let me make it extremely clear that nobody is more concerned about our students' safety and well-being than our teachers are. You may have visited school sites. However, we are the ones who are in the classroom and know firsthand what our students and their families need. Okay, another point, air quality is not dependent on smell. So it was extremely concerning to hear that the decision not to close schools was because board members visited several sites and didn't smell anything bad. As teachers, we are told to make data-driven decisions. In fact, this year, from, I believe, a district directive, we were told we have to have a data bulletin board in our classroom. So why am I making data-based decisions, but you aren't? If we're truly making decisions from a non-emotional place, like we said, then we need to make decisions based on facts and science, not our sense of smell. If things were safe, the governor would not have declared a state of emergency. Students' long-term health is in your hands. Our students showed up and are showing up because you told them and their families that they were safe. 40,000 students showed up because you told them they were safe. Most of our schools are not indoor campuses. Students are outside breathing toxic particles as they go from class to class. My students, they go to the bathroom about 30 times a day, so they're out there breathing particles all of the time. Okay, we told families we have HEPA filters. Most haven't been changed in years. Okay, KN95 masks have not been provided for students, which means that my 32 students, which I had 10 missing today because their families chose to keep them home, but my students that I am a teacher and mom in part too, okay, they're out there breathing in toxic particles that will 100% have a long-term effect on their health. Okay, teachers also don't want to hear thank you. We don't want to hear that our sacrifices are appreciated. We want to be heard and valued and treated like the professionals we are. Okay, not to hear insulting statements about us staying home to watch Netflix or go to Disneyland, because that's not what we're doing. Okay, you show up for our students every school board meeting. We show up for our students every single day. Okay, and so my final question is, now that we know that this will likely be an issue again in the future, what is our plan for this going forward? And I'd also like you to consider, based on everything that we have seen tonight, on closing our schools, because right now, like they were previously saying, the trust is gone. I don't feel valued. I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel like my health matters. I don't feel like my students' health matters. I know that they have hard situations at home. Absolutely. We, the teachers, know more than anybody what our students are going through. We're the ones making the CPS phone calls. Okay? But they're not safe. We know if they're at school, they are not safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. We have a motion by, would you restate your motions?
Yes, I move that we close all of our school sites until Friday.
Got a second by Ms. Ceballos. By Ms. Ceballos?
Yes. Oh, wait. Didn't
Vote,
she have
please.
a
I was just going to ask with regards to, are there options for those that do not then? Are we going to completely close and then having the kids just that need support, so not have any? Is that what we're saying?
You got,
For the children who don't have a place to go.
Ms. Medina, this is what's going to happen. We'll make the vote. If the vote gets approved to close schools until Friday, after that's taken, then Mr. Ariana will work with the district staff to take the next steps to ensure that we provide services during those times that we're closed.
Okay, so we're going to provide services, is that what you're saying?
We've done this before.
We have, but in this situation, since it's a short time, you know, with COVID at least we had preparation time, but with this.
Have no time. No.
Yeah, no time. Okay, so
I
I
move
mean,
we
if that's
yeah.
the case, then.
I move we close our district school sites for the rest of the week.
Yes, it's been moved and it's been second. A vote, please. Ms. Alexander?
Aye.
Ms. Chahusky? Ms. Medina?
I will go with making sure that we provide some services.
Ms. Medina?
Aye.
Ms. Grande? Aye. Ms. Ceballos? Aye. And Dr. Wyatt? Aye. The motion passed. Meeting adjourned.